question we got. No. What? I should have said the poem. So beautiful. So beautiful. Other people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore our and all our, in fact, familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing. To lens all logically and boldly, become space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space timelines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle, grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both and each, both and all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunderous blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
We all are risen.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्व महाशक्ति महारथी महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगीश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या ओम महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महातांडव साक्षिणी महादावेशमहिषी महात्रिपुर सुंदरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता
Celestial event. No. No words. No words. God, I should have said the poem. So beautiful. So beautiful. The people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
this day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hope. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law.
Okay. Another Patricia. Selectivity of Black. This is Anna Marie, singing Christian, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Algonquin, Dakota, and I am also a French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of all the natives of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth, and all the planets of all the universes.
Didn't work out.
Welcome to our Starry Hours broadcasts from the head and heart quarters, the heart and headquarters of the New Millennial Co-Federation of Earth and Planets, of Co-Federation of the Family Community of Humanity, of Love, Life in the Light of Balance. My name is Astrea Mara Ayama, Rajel One Family, Tapau, Equinox, True Q. I am the first but not last or only cosmic Christ of the planet Earth. I and other people, but I seem to understand the mission requirement of this, have a genealogical inheritance that makes me a descendant of the families of Magdala and Nazareth. I am also further back a descendant of the Minoan civilization better called Atlantis. It's commonly called Minoan, but it shouldn't be. It's Atlantis. And also on another branch of my family, Vedic India and India, the land of Kastraba Kapadia and Mahatma Amma and Mohandas Mahatma Kapadia Gandhi. I believe I'm also, through processes of reincarnation, many other women involved in the area of family and care for family, community, and earth and democracy. More recently, I'm a direct descendant of the family of
Rebbetzin and Rashi of Troyes and their 3 daughters who rose in France around the last millennium. So are other members of my family. I am a partial reincarnation of the daughter of Queen Esther, Radisha, and many, many others. And more recently, I live in the neighborhood, Rachel Carson, whose name is very similar to mine, and I am a partial reincarnation completing her spirit. And also, I live in the same neighborhood as the wife of the founder of television, whose name was Grace Love. I am risen Grace Love. And this is my broadcast and what I would like to see on television, instead of a lot of misogyny and misanthropy, which is what you are watching if you watch television, and distracting nonsense when your world is in trouble and needs you to attend to that. I have delivered to the world the new law. The government of the world sits on my shoulders. There is no president. There is no prime minister. There is no chancellor until they fully implement the new millennial golden rule. Not that I have any dislike of any of those people who hold those titles, but they are themselves victims of an error that humanity makes collectively, and that error is called patriarchy, and it's the righting of that error, the setting it to right, and making it an era behind us, and our present and future one of truth, is reparative egalitarian society and government, which we also have, as our understanding makes it quite clear to us, understood to be the ultimate faith and trust, and also the pathway to eternal life on this and all planets via the opening of the stargates. We are at a time in the human history of extreme dumbing down of people by mass media. The general population has been deliberately dumbed down by patriarchal boardrooms and their oligarchical patriarchal families enabling that, such that important information has been deliberately kept from especially North Americans, but people all over the world, in any way watching Western corporate or any corporate media or state media, any media that is in patriarchal structure of control. The media tends to have men, older men in the boardrooms, and staffs of men and women who become the minions of the sociopaths who sit in the boardrooms. I don't hate sociopaths. I love sociopaths. I love everyone. My job is to give eternal life to everyone. So I have no particular wish to see any simple anger directed at sociopaths, but there should be outrage for all of us at what we have allowed ourselves to be doing. Those who watch television and those who program television are equally guilty in a way. Those who vote in sham elections are equally guilty as the candidates who rise into office in order to become Animal Farm. This is an interactive process of dominators and submitters, of deceivers and enablers. It is the human condition within patriarchy. Patriarchy causes this over time. The only way to be free of this and to have our truly divine qualities come forth of kindness, goodness, and brilliant genius all at once together, and eternal youth and idealism, is to implement egalitarian society within every socio-psychological interaction. It is required in the family. It is required in the community. It is required in our political model. It is required in our economic model. It is required in our sociology. It is required in our understanding of our families, past, present, and future. It is a requirement of our understanding of our humanity, past, present, and future. I was so dismayed before I came onto this broadcast. I saw an article on Huffington Post comparing the different Democratic candidates for the no longer needed office of president. I know that the women of all of these families, whether they're the candidate women or the enabler first ladies and would-be first ladies, don't understand that the Statue of Liberty is the goddess Astrea of Atlantis. I am her incarnation. I am the goddess returned to bring the golden age not only to this planet but to all planets via the new millennial golden rule, which I will tell you about in moments. The Statue of Liberty is a figure who emerges from the civilization of Atlantis, a very real place. For years, people were unsure if it was just a myth or if it was real. Well, modern archaeology has proven it was real. And it was the longest survived civilization with a thriving population, lasting thousands of years without war, without any fortifications, without income inequity, and yet a very high standard of life for all of its family members, its community members, its citizens, who were one and the same, of course. Because the decision-making had a full complement of women. There was at least 50% women, likely even more, as the main decision makers and also the main purveyors of the worship services, particularly of Mother Nature in all her forms. The art of the Minoan civilization is profoundly interested in nature. And there is great wisdom in that. Everything that we have that we take for granted is from Mother Nature. We have with us the light, which is also a reflection of the light of the sun, of the universe, the sun and the stars. And we have their product via photosynthesis, everything that we base everything on this planet. We live in a time of two great miracles that depend on a simple grain of sand. The silicon chip that makes computers possible and makes the internet possible and this broadcast possible. And the same grain of sand that makes solar panels possible. This is not only revolutionary, it's re-evolutionary. Because so much of humanity has been the efforting to fuel activity. And the enslavement of people and the exploitative arrangements of people in order to fuel activity, to fuel agriculture in the last century. So we're now beyond that. We have the power of the sun, the big heart light in the sky that is our nearest star and is around every planet in the solar system where there are planets that we will be in contact with and terraform. That sun, that star, that big heart in the sky that gives us everything is what the ancient peoples used to worship. On the date of this month that this part of the world was celebrating a lovely man who had a wife who really should be celebrated at the same time with him, but isn't. On that same date, the people of India were worshiping the sun as one of their deities, in some places as a male, in some places as a female. There are many cultures that have female sun goddesses. Astrea, the goddess of the Statue of Liberty, is a sun and star goddess. She is a universal goddess called a Titan. She's not of Mount Olympus. She's much bigger than Mount Olympus. And she connected and concerned herself with all planets, not just Earth. That's me. I'm the first but not last or only cosmic Christ. And my job is to ensure that all humanity achieves apotheosis with me. That is, to become goddess and godlike human beings. And the means to this is divine democracy in every love and respect thy neighbor, female and male, as thyself, and knowing that they are also related to you, genealogically, as in terms of your genetics and your nurturing processes that have interacted with common ancestry in the story of her in history. There is nobody who's watching this broadcast or who will hear it who is not my cousina or cousin. I am all of your cousines. All of you cousina, I'm your cousina. And all of you cousins, I'm your cousina. You might call me, I'm the first cousina, cosmic Christ. I'm the Kuzmic, C-O-U. Z. I always write, you'll see on the website, 5050now.wordpress.com, instead of using the letter S, I often use the combination SZ. There are many particular reasons for that in terms of my family heritage, which includes Romania and Hungary, and that combination occurs in their language, but it's more than that. It has to do with syzygy. Syzygy is an astronomical term that refers to the alignment of three heavenly bodies. And I say that when you can gather three women to discuss gender parity, miracles happen. It's very difficult to do that, though, in a patriarchal culture where the women have been inverted against themselves. And that is what has occurred in North America. The women of this country, north of the United States in particular, are afraid to talk about gender parity. They are afraid. They have a terrible scar where the discussions of that should be, because they know that they've been betrayed by their authority figures, people who they trusted in that area. And it is so painful for them to have to face how not only men but women, particularly in the media, betrayed all their sister and brother human beings in North America, including themselves and their own children, by excluding and deliberately, knowingly, in many cases, excluding the stories about gender parity that were occurring all around the world and kept from North Americans so they wouldn't discuss it. Now we're in this pseudo-election cycle, deciding whether out of the field of mostly men and their one or two female tokens who will be faced with a mostly male government, who to vote for? Give me a break. Give yourselves a break and give these poor candidates a break. They can't do anything except create Animal Farm under patriarchy. We have to liberate them as well so they can share in eternal life. The biggest culprits in our society today are the boardrooms of mass media, television, radio, and print media that's corporately controlled. But we have many people who have been so sucked in to the lie of censorship told by these entities that now many people who you would think would be able to think freely and explore and know about gender parity and balance of love and work and all of the wonderful things that do exist for women in the hundreds of millions and billions around this planet would be something that they would be interested in talk about, but not in North America. In North America, the women don't talk about this. They just say, well, here we don't have family leave. End of story. And the reason they don't discuss that further is because it hurts them so much. How misogynist can a society become? Do we have to look soon like North Africa Do you want to see genital mutilations occurring here? Do you want to see women turning on themselves and their daughters the way they do in North Africa so that they be attractive to men by having no pleasure? Or in North America, we have another version of this. They have to look like all they want is sexual pleasure. They have to look like prostitutes. They have to look half naked all the time in order to be seen in some elements of our entertainment media. I mean, what kind of incredible misogyny is going on in this culture? And everybody's winking at it and treating it as if normal. Do we have to get to the point of what happened in ancient China, where mothers bashed the toes of their little girls so that they would fit into tiny shoes for thousands of years because they'd be more attractive to a man? That practice was eradicated. It took some effort, but it's passed. In North America, we're bashing women in the political realm. And it's just as devastating. And it is against the law that the Statue of Liberty carries right at her side, which is actually the pre-fall of the civilization, what is often called the Gortina Code, which was found by archaeologists in 1884 on the Isle of Crete in a town called Gortin. And the inscription on the stones starts out with full and complete democracy for women, and gradually over time degrades such that women become having less and less rights and eventually chattel. How could this occur? It is a process of psychological, sociological phenomenon. It is not natural because the longest survived civilization was not patriarchal. It was egalitarian, and they were the civilization that worshiped nature. It does have something to do with technologies that are delivered by men, like the television. We just saw a Google doodle showing one of the inventors of television. Didn't show his wife. He did have a wife. It didn't show his partner, who was actually his muse in the whole prospect. She is mentioned in the article, but the doodle didn't show her, because that's the way patriarchal corporations think. Google also is a patriarchal corporation right now. Do you hear me, Google? I'm using your Hangouts and I'm saying, let's fix this. You've got some very gifted women, especially the woman who heads up YouTube, whose sister was involved with Google, and that whole family. We overnight could bring eternal life to the world via the new millennial golden rule and applying it to every place, every grouping, every organization. It is simply a what I call pink and green and rainbow colored, including but not limited to blue, print for humanity. So go to the website. It's at 5050now.wordpress.com. And you will see at the top right corner the new millennial golden rule. Its components are the Panchayat Raj of India, which was the brainchild and the heart and brainchild and spirit child of the thinking of Kasturba Kapadia and Mohandas Kapadia Gandhi, the Mahatma Alma and the Mahatma, who India celebrates right now, just as we celebrated Martin Luther King's holiday without his wife, as equal remembrance, although some people are beginning to figure this out. And some of these celebrations are beginning to include the women of these families. Some people are beginning to figure out that genderism is just as bad as racism and colonialism. In fact, worse and more widespread and more insidious and more normalized and more cumulatively dangerous to the entire planet right now. And also this month, of course, was another family who I am also, I believe, spiritually, certainly a reincarnation partially of the family of Mary, and Tom Lambert Paine. He's often called, as we call in Anglo societies, just Tom Paine. If he lived in a Hispanic or a Netherlands Dutch country, he would have carried his wife's name also. But we're Anglo, so we just call him Tom Paine. Well, Tom Paine, after his wife, Mary, died in childbirth, giving birth to their daughter, who also died in childbirth, because probably about 50 or 60% of women, if maybe even more in that time, died in childbirth. And their doctors were mostly men or midwives who were kept out of school, so that the women were kept deliberately dumb, and the medical model that they had was deliberately destructive, or I don't know if deliberately, but wound up to be destructive. And the practices that were used toward women in childbirth were horrible. And she died. Now, they were contemporaries, overlapping with Mary Wollstonecraft, who wrote the Vindication of the Rights of Women and the Vindication of the Rights of Men. And these were the early real feminists. What we have had in North America for the past 25 years is not feminism at all, and that's part of the problem. We not only have a problem with television, we have a problem with the strange codependent behavior of our so-called feminist groups in the United States. And I have called them on the carpet on this and called them personally to their offices. I've begged them to focus on the issue of representation and balance of love and work, and instead they continue to obsess and obsess about abortion. Abortion is a real issue. It should be dealt with in a democracy, not a manocracy with a few tokens to make it look like it isn't. It is a manocracy, especially in the corporate boardrooms that are controlling behind the scenes. Now, this is obvious. We are in a very fallen condition because this has been allowed, because it's been promoted by a media that distracts people, and they have found very effective political puppets who are willing to go along with it, and who, when they're men, who have wives and daughters who are willing to go along with it. Maybe they don't even know any better. I'm not quite sure. Some of these women have profound electric complexes. They may be brilliant women and yet troubled by an enormous need to please a father figure and men, such that they ignore their own gender almost completely. This is the only place on earth, other than Papua New Guinea, Liberia, and Swaziland, that doesn't have substantive family leave. The disrespect to women and to children is so profound that a full quarter of American women are on antidepressants, and even larger on other drugs. And it doesn't make men happy either. You have almost that number abusing alcohol and drugs. This is what patriarchy does. It stresses people to go along with rules and laws made by alpha males who are very manipulative over time. And their families accumulate in a stupid kind of way, unnecessary conspicuous consumption, and say, look how great I am, I've got so much. Can you tell me what can they do with it all? Do they walk their mansions every day from room to room to see what the decorations look like? I mean, you can do that on the internet. You don't need a mansion to go into room to room. You can do it for nothing. But it's an old model, and it's how people who don't have very good relationships with their mothers under patriarchy get their self-esteem. Oh, I have a lot of money. I have a big title. I have a lot of money, a big title. I'm something. Many of the people who go into political life, and not the makers of the inventions that the corporations use, but the businessmen, the sellers, the advertising men, were not well raised by their mothers. They weren't close to their mothers. They don't know what love is. Sometimes they came from very wealthy fathers where the fathers hardly saw them at all. But they were taught to revere him because he had a lot of money. This is the teaching of sociopathy, my dears. And we have to liberate these people because, as my great ancestor said, a rich man could get into heaven no more easily than a camel through the eye of a needle. I'm offering you eternal life on this and all planets, opening up the stargates and the ability of space-time travel. They're not going to have that. And you may not either if you keep voting for them and pretending what they're doing is okay. And you will have nothing. And in your next life, if you're not reincarnated here as a lower form of life, you might be reincarnated on another planet as a lower form of life. Because you didn't get it. Democracy is a gift from the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. And you're supposed to protect it. And you're supposed to have it. Well, I'm giving it to you as a great gift and an easy gift. Just read the New Millennial Golden Rule and you see it's really easy to do. Just turn off and look below it too for the 11 steps. Just turn off television. Just turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. And if you see anything about debates, don't look. Don't read it. Ignore it completely. There are no candidates. They're candidates. They work for George Orwell's nightmare, Animal Farm. You don't want to go along with them. You want to liberate them. Tell them to stop running. There isn't going to be an election in 2016 because there wasn't one in 2008, in 2008, and there wasn't in 2004, and there wasn't in 2000 when I was on the ballot in Maryland, since I am a descendant of Miriam of Magdala and Miriam of Nazareth, and I live in Maryland. I was the only person who won, and I ran with a gentleman of Finnish heritage on a balance of gender ticket. That was the finish line. We did it. We won. You all conventionally thinking what you thought what the television was telling you was some kind of truth, you all lost. Everyone knows that the 2000 election, even amongst the men, was stolen. Everyone who reads knows that even amongst the men, the 2004 election was stolen. And everyone knows that the 2008 election may have had that go on in the primary. Why did we allow this? Because television said it was what was so. And then the puppets in the Congress and in the presidency and in the vice presidency and in the supreme idiots who gave us Citizens United, which is really funny. But you bought it all. They took you by the nose, honeys, and you my sheeple, you did it with them. You said okay, and you went along with it. And some of you are still going along with it, but a lot of you are not. Scores and scores, probably about 100 million people recognize that the elections are a sham. Around the world, many people boycotted their elections in order to get real closer to democracy government, and they got it. North Americans are kind of stupid because they watch television. And the guys behind the boardrooms or TVs know it. Hi, guys. I'm the Paraclete. Don't screw with me because your planet will be destroyed. We are talking about real big sin here. It's primarily the sin of patriarchy. Patriarchy causes false hierarchy in many, many ways. It produces colonialism and nationalism. It produces racism. It produces classism. It produces family birth orderism and family alienation and divorce. It produces all those little goodies. It produces most of the stress that causes most of the disease that you'll ever see. All is coming right out of our willingness to follow an alpha male who thumps on his chest and says, "I'm speaking to you, my people." And we don't listen to those little higher pitched voices very well, even though they may know more and be closer to children and be thinking further to the 7th and the 11th generation, as you heard of the white calf buffalo women, who are the messiahs of the Native Americans. They don't have a male messiah. They have a female messiah. Now, I am a female messiah, a first but not last or only planet saver, because I can make you all into planet savers. Just read the new millennial golden rule at 5050now.wordpress.com. Share it with everyone you know. Set up the circles within your neighborhood. Start with the women and the youth, age 37 and younger, female and male. Don't let older men into the circle to discuss anything of substance for 9 to 18 months. During those 9 to 18 months, what those older men need to do is read about wife abuse, war, cruelty, sexual trafficking, all the things their gender out of control has been letting itself do. And the nicer guys, and there are a lot of nicer guys, have to mobilize themselves to address those members of their gender who are completely out of control. That's all they have to attend to for the 9 to 18 months. During that time, the women and the youth, female and male, age 37 and younger, will make all the decisions of what we used to consider governmental decisions: how to allocate resources, what to build, what to not have anymore, like nuclear weapons. They make all the decisions for 9 to 18 months. And then after that time, then the older men can come back in as partners, not as rulers, dominators, the habitual process of humanity. We have to break our habit. And I will say very clearly that this habit is passed on by women, maybe even more intensely than men. Because once women have lowered self-esteem and they forgot that they had the equality, that the Statue of Liberty shows you, the enormous dignity of the female. When they forget that, and they become little bifocals and little housicles and little drone workers, when they forget that, then they forget each other. And when they forget each other, they forget the next generation, and they forget the future. And so we wind up wasting away on our own waste, our Fukushimas and our Exxon Valdezes and all the horrors that we create, leaving the decisions to just men, instead of opening up the stargates and having terraformed a whole bunch of planets by now. So that's why I'm giving this to you. I have put before you blessings and curses. The blessings are for this planet and in connection with other planets. And I do understand that on the other planets are the incarnated souls of your own family, in part. It is the Akashic record incarnated on other planets. When you open the Stargate, just as my relatives, because it is a relative of mine who wrote Contact and Cosmos, imagine you do encounter your relatives. Your family tree is there. Many religions believe this, and they're right. People's concept of heaven is right. They're not dead. They're just going from the planet because they screwed up themselves, mostly because of patriarchy. They're waiting for us to become risen so they can be back in contact with us, that we can all be resurrected. Now, I've said this pretty clearly and simply, and we're going to do another broadcast in a little while. We do one more in the evening. I'm going to let you take a break. Please visit the website 5050now.wordpress.com. Read the New Millennial Golden Rule, the I Have a Dream, We All Have a Dream under the sermon sections, and the Among the Representatives, which lists my own family, my dearest family, and those that I know, and your relatives represented by women from every continent on earth and their youth age 37 and younger. You'll see the lists of names. Some of them are very, very famous. Some of them are completely unknown. They come from all walks of life. They're all our sister Kazinas. We are all related. And all people are related through their giving birth. And they're being sisters and caring about women who do that. And caring about the children who are both female and male, that are all of us. So I'm going to let you look at the screen share. We're going to stop the broadcast, and we'll come back in a little while.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law.
Okay. I thought it was Patricia. Lady Flavor Made Sunflower, who wants to turn to the Blacksmith. This is Anna Marie, singing critic, and I am Charity Steiner, Blacksmith, and now walking the Black. And I am also French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of alternative of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth, and all the planets of all the universes